If you want to be a sustainable hotel and you want your staff to follow sustainable behaviors, you need to talk about it from day one, from the minute they're hired. We have an environmental policy. We're quite sustainable, but really sustainability comes down to people.
You also been in one of humanity's hardest days, and you were on that tsunami day. How
Yeah.
was that experience?
Was actually in the Maldives. 2004, I was 24 years old. Got offered a job as the manager of a 6-star island resort in the Maldives. Perfect job, dream location. What could go wrong? Of course, the Boxing Day tsunami hit the Indian Ocean, and yeah, it's still kind of difficult to even speak or think about that day. Their lives were dramatically touched after that day for a long time, including mine. After that day, this irrational fear of environmental doom or natural disasters. And then I moved back to Europe, moved back to Ireland, and decided to try and, just move on with my life. And that's when that eco-anxiety started. And it crippled me with fear in many, many occasions. But I just decided to put the head down, go back to hospitality, go back to doing what you love. Small actions at a larger scale will change a lot of things.
How much damage greenwash does to team performance?
If we want to make sustainability available to the masses, we need to simplify it. It needs to be as easy as the ABC and the 1, 2, 3. And only when we achieve that, people will actually engage with sustainable behaviors.
What's up, hospitality? Did you know that you can reduce operational related costs by 15% just by educating your team on sustainability standards? Sustainability is not about the greenwashing, my friends. You are not only helping the planet, you are helping yourselves and your business as well. Today, I'm honored to welcome a former hotel manager whose today's mission is to bring sustainability education and training to all levels of education with her organization, 50 Shades Greener, a awarded company providing green skills education, certification, and consultancy to businesses, governments, and education providers. Raquel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mauricio. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm very excited to speak to you today because sustainability, it is a sore spot in hospitality, and I do believe that we need more education, we need more understanding, and a lot less greenwash around the subject. But before diving into sustainability, you were a hotelier, and once a hotelier, always a hotelier. How did your career start? Was one of those easy decisions where everyone supported you to follow your dreams?
Absolutely not. I wish life was that easy. I kind of, to be honest, I fell into hospitality by pure chance. And I think that's, from all the people I've met throughout the years, that's normally how people fall into hospitality, or the majority of us anyways. I was 17 years old. I was in Spain. I wasn't really doing much. All my family are huge academics with like PhDs and masters, and Raquel was the black sheep that did not want to kind of go through studies in university. So I decided just to move to Ireland for the summer to learn English. My father said, I'm going to buy you a one-way ticket to wherever you want to go, and you're going to pay your own way back. And so in 1998, I landed in Shannon in County Clare in Ireland, and I have never been back. So I started, I guess, cleaning bedrooms in a hotel because I had no English at the time. And so it was kind of the only option I had for survival. And from then, it's just, it was a 20-year career.
Wow. Like that's, I believe that that was a great lesson from your dad. I love that idea. I'm going to keep that in mind. Sorry, Lily. It's fantastic. And, but you also been in one of humanity's hardest days, and you were there in Thailand on that tsunami day. How was that experience?
Yeah, so I was actually in the Maldives. I 2024, 2004, I was 24 years old. Got offered a job as the manager of a 6-star island resort in the Maldives. Perfect job, dream location. What could go wrong? Of course, the Boxing Day tsunami hit the Indian Ocean, and yeah, it's still kind of difficult to even speak or think about that day, but I can only explain that it was the biggest display of the power of nature that I guess I would have ever experienced or I ever want to experience. It devastated so many lives, so many communities, even those people that didn't die in the event, then their lives were dramatically touched after that day for a long time, including mine, I guess. I suffer from eco-anxiety for over a decade after that day. This irrational fear of, environmental doom or natural disasters. Of course, at the time, we didn't really talk about eco-anxiety or climate anxiety. So you just keep it quiet because you think you're actually going a bit crazy and you don't want people to know that you're crazy. So you don't talk about it with anybody, which doesn't help the situation. So yeah, I would say perhaps, for me, it was the first time that it planted the seed on my head about nature, the environment, sustainability, and what all this climate talk meant. We didn't talk about climate change as often as we do now back in 2004. But for me, it definitely triggered a need to do something and to dedicate my life to something that would help the environment and people. And that was, really the start of my journey in sustainability.
I can't imagine what's been going through such an event, and but it definitely changes us. Right? What was your next step? What happened next?
So, okay, straight after, my family wanted me to get out of there. Obviously, straight away, as quick as possible. I decided to stay. I stayed for another 9 months after it because I felt that I was needed there. That we started doing rescue services that would be, body parts washed off in our Ireland. That would be really dramatic things, but there was people that needed help nearby. And so I decided to stay for 9 months, not working as a hotel manager really anymore because we had no hotel, no clients, but really kind of just, helping the area and the local communities. And then I moved back to Europe, moved back to Ireland and decided to try and, just move on with my life. And that's when that eco-anxiety started. And it crippled me with fear in many, many occasions. But I just decided to put the head down, go back to hospitality, go back to doing what you love. So I went back managing hotels in Ireland. I started working in a hotel in Dublin, and that kind of just took my mind off things for another 10 years, no, 8 years, um, until I started working in a small hotel in the west coast of Ireland, Hotel Doolin. And my general manager said, "Oh, I want to run the greenest hotel in Ireland." And that was kind of the eureka moment of saying, "Ooh, now I can really kind of match what I wanted to do from that point, from that terrible day to I can combine my passion with my work." So that was kind of the second eureka moment of my life.
So basically, you were dwelling and fighting internally all that struggle of being in such a traumatic event, using hospitality as a way to keep yourself busy and useful in your own ways. But then getting to work in the greenest hotel. And I did some research about the Hotel Doolin just to bring some numbers. They reduced carbon footprint from 207 tons of CO2 in 2012 to 30 tons in 2021, and they describe themselves as carbon negative because they also plant local trees. So how was that experience of becoming part of a project that is not only hospitality, but it's something bigger, it's something that is really treating the world and giving back to humanity?
Yeah, so when I started working there, we didn't really have a green program yet or a sustainability kind of a strategy in place. So our general manager, Donald Minahan, he's one of these crazy hospitality visionaries that is kind of ahead of his time. And, back in 2012, nobody thought about, green hotels really that much as we do now. But he had this thing that he just wanted to do something very, very different. And he just said to me, look, give you a couple of years there to get this off the ground. And I had no idea where to start. I didn't know what a green hotel meant. I was clueless to the whole area of sustainability. So started learning by myself. As we all know in hospitality, they give you very little time to do side projects. So it was kind of more in my own time that I would, read reports, trying to figure out, okay, what is the environmental footprint of a hotel? And through that process, I understood energy, waste, and water were three things that were, completely under our control and had a profound effect in our environmental footprint and on the environment. So I started with those, and I decided that if I wanted to manage something, I needed to measure it. So my first step was to measure. Then I realized that it's not the hotel that is using electricity. It's really the decision that our chefs were making or our housekeepers were making. We, the team, the people in the hotel, made decisions as to when to use energy. And we could be wasteful with that energy or we could be really efficient. So I started developing little training sessions with all the departments. So, and behold, within a year, we have reduced energy by 30%, waste by 40%, and water by 25%.
Wow.
Just by changing our behavior. There was no capital projects, no money involved. So this is when I started thinking, wow, I looked at our savings, the savings we had generated. I mean, you can imagine the energy costs of running a hotel and reducing 30% of that cost. And that's when we were allowed to take those savings, reinvest, and then we started collecting rainwater so we could reduce our water usage by even more. We installed solar panels, then the heat pumps came. So we started a process in which every penny that we were saving because of our green actions from our team would be reinvested into capital projects for decarbonization. And that's how the hotel became the first carbon neutral hotel in Ireland. I don't really like that word anymore, carbon neutrality, too many labels. They became the greenest hotel in Ireland. And that's important.
Yeah, when we spoke before, you mentioned about these the jargons around sustainability and all these terms that complicates the idea that you need to implement, right? What is that about? Like, is there a need to be simpler?
Yes, that's exactly what we always wanted to achieve with 50 Shades Greener, simplify sustainability. I call it Labrador style. Even my dog, the Labrador Bruce, should understand what I'm telling him when I'm talking sustainability. Because I guess for me, like when I first started trying to learn, when I had no idea back in 2012, one of my first protocols was the ISO 1400 standards. I don't know if you've heard of ISO. They're like the most widely used environmental standards in the world. And I felt so stupid and so little reading those standards because they were using all this grandiose terminology and words. And like I felt like I needed a solicitor to actually translate what they were telling me. And it nearly made me quit. It nearly made me give up my sustainability journey or my dreams to be able to work in this area because I thought I was too stupid for it. And I guess I've always carried that feeling of inferiority for not having gone to college or university like my parents wanted me to do. So of course I thought this is completely my fault. But no, then I realized it's not my fault. If we want to make sustainability available to the masses, we need to simplify it. It needs to be as easy as the ABC and the 1, 2, 3. And only when we achieve that, people will actually engage with sustainable behaviors a lot more than what they do now. So, carbon neutrality, net zero, all these labels, it's just, it drives me a bit crazy. It's unnecessary.
I love the way that you think, you were given a project that you had no idea, and you didn't start by throwing anything out, but by actually measuring impact, what was happening and understanding the processes in the beginning. Then you went to small trainings with hard impact. And now you went to simplification. I really like how you think through challenges, right? And
Mhm.
how to solve them. And it's amazing. But when it comes to challenges and hospitality, there are two
Mm.
things that really come together, right? Because hospitality, mainly today, they face different challenges from every single side of the spectrum of hospitality. The business is pressure, it's taxes, it's an employee, it's marketing, AI, you name it. But when it comes to measuring sustainability results and training its staff, in your experience, what's that single biggest challenge that the hotels face?
Yeah, I guess the biggest challenge is not even the training; it's the mindset. It's changing that mindset, and hotels and people often think about sustainability in terms of technology and policy. In that, like, oh, we have an environmental policy, we're quite sustainable, um, but really, sustainability comes down to people. And people can see sustainability as an extra job or an extra chore unless the leadership of that organization shifts the culture and demonstrates themselves that sustainability is part of how they do their work every single day. So sustainability training is not like something that happens every Tuesday at 3 o'clock or every month. It's something that is embedded in our behaviors throughout the entire time of that we're working to do. You can install all the LED bulbs you want and have all the technology you want to, manage your heating and your air conditioning. But the real magic really happens when a staff actually believes in what they're doing and the actions that they're taking. When, the housekeeper feels proud for reporting a leaking tap in a bedroom because they know that's going to save water for the local community. Or when the chef knows that reducing food waste is not just good for the environment, it actually saves a lot of money. The little challenges that make a staff go behind a sustainability strategy. But it is all down to leadership, and it's all down to building that culture really from the top down, but also from the bottom up. Sustainability is for everyone in an organization. And I think that's the biggest challenge, is to get into that mindset that this is not, the project of the month. This is a new way of doing things forever. So leadership and mindset are kind of the biggest challenges I see.
How much damage greenwash does to team performance when it comes to turn your team into more sustainable?
Yeah, greenwashing is affecting every aspect of sustainability. It affects teams because, let's say you're working in a hotel, you are doing everything right, or everything that you can right. You're that housekeeper that is reporting every water tap that is leaking, that it's, turning off all the lights when you finish cleaning a room. And then let's say that, the hotel is outed in the news for being greenwashing. Well, that person feels that all their efforts are now non-valid. And it's a bit shameful that she was part of the green team. And it's a bit shameful that she thought that she passionately believed in this. So I think greenwashing, and then from a consumer perspective, same thing. You might be willing to pay. I'm willing to pay more money for accommodation that is sustainable. But then when I arrive there and I see that there is nothing sustainable about that hotel, it kind of erodes your confidence in ever trying to book sustainable stays again. So it's, greenwashing, I think, for me, just erodes confidence in the whole sustainability industry. And all of a sudden, we see one example of greenwashing and we think that every other property is like that. So it's eroding confidence in what the good ones are trying to achieve.
Yeah, one of the greenwash tactics that I've been seeing a lot lately is the towels, right? So yes, not washing towels every day is great for the environment, but it's very clear in most of the hotels that I go that it's nothing to do about environment. It's about an extra fee, another €5 there. And I believe that the staff know that, right? They know that is just a financial transaction there, that they are not making any bit of anything. They are just part of a, a machine, right?
That's it.
And it's sad to see it. It's really sad to
It
see.
is.
Have you experienced any hotels doing that? And how was that conversation with them?
Yeah, I mean, it started even with the messaging. Help us save the planet by reusing your towels. Come on now, we're not going to save the planet by reusing some towels. I always say, you know, when we're working with I call them students, you could call them clients, but it's be very, very honest in your messaging. You know, if you reuse your towel, we will save 4 kilowatts of electricity on not using the washing machine. We would reduce detergents by 10%, by whatever. Be honest with your messaging. That goes for your staff and then also for the customer, you know. I mean, you know, the reusing towels is just something that it's probably been around for like 15, 20 years. It's just not enough at this point, you know. I always say the only hotel that can demonstrate, you can only demonstrate that you are sustainable with data. If you don't have data, if you don't measure your environmental impact, your carbon footprint, your energy, your waste, your water per customer, you cannot say you're a sustainable hotel. So measure your data and publish it. Always publish it. So if you're looking to stay in a sustainable hotel, look at their website. What does their sustainability page tell you? Does it just give you a policy there with big statements, no data, not real commitments? Forget it. They're not sustainable. They just have a policy. It's always, for me, it's always about backing, you know, greenwashing can be very easily avoided with data, basically. But to get data, you have to do the work. You have to measure it and you have to improve it. And that's when you're sustainable.
Sorry to interrupt. If you're enjoying the show and if you are learning something new today, please consider following the show, subscribe to our channel, or leave us a review. It helps us to help more people through the podcast, and it would mean the world to us. Thank you for listening, and we're back on the chat.
And what kind of solutions have you seen that can really impact the hotel teams?
So that I can impact the hotel team. Well, first of all, when we managed to bring HR into the sustainability conversation, it's funny. It's a department that not many people think about. Everybody thinks about sustainability from an operational side of things. But for that, you need to embed it into your HR, into your recruitment, into your induction. So if you want to be a sustainable hotel and you want your staff to follow sustainable behaviors, you need to talk about it from day one, from the minute they're hired. From their induction, there needs to be, like, you know, parts of the sustainability strategy that the hotel or the property is trying to achieve and how that employee has a part to play on that strategy. So you start implementing that mindset of sustainability every day from the very beginning. Then it's about even embedding sustainability and sustainable behaviors into job descriptions, but also into key performance indicators. So let's say you have a chef, you're the general manager, you have your chef. Normally their KPIs would be in gross profit margins, or even cost of wages. Start bringing in energy consumption from the kitchen. But that should be a key performance indicator for them. We need to be as efficient as possible. Everybody should be able to measure what energy do they need. How many hours do we need that oven on? How many hours do we need that lighting on? And if you go above that budget, then you're not meeting your key performance indicators. So it's about embedding sustainability into everything we do, from job roles to, you know, performance reviews, and then down to have every single departmental manager talking to their teams. You know, sustainability is all about people. You don't need to develop these massive training programs. You don't need to put everyone on training at the same time. But if the head chef once a day tells their chefs about food waste, a little nugget of information here or there, this is something that gets really embedded into their daily lives. And that's really how true a sustainable culture can be embedded into an organization. If we think of it as a side project, let's hire 50 Shades Greener, let's train 3 people and we're done. That's not how it works.
And how technology helps?
can help in many, many ways. For us, what technology has helped with is we were able to develop our training programs online and self-paced. Our programs can be taken from anywhere in the world at any time of the day. So again, for busy people working in hospitality, that was a key driver, that they didn't need to be on a Thursday at 12 o'clock meeting us in a meeting room somewhere in Dublin or in whatever city we decided to do this. They could use the self-recorded online modules at a time that suited them for their own schedules, but also live dashboards of data. That's something that technology has been really helpful for. So we developed a few years ago the FSG data portal, we call it. And all of our students have access to their own account. They enter on a weekly or a monthly basis energy waste and water usage. And it shows them their consumption going up and down. And that kind of visual data is really, really important because people can see it. It's something that they can say, oh, wow, we implemented a new action about food waste reduction last month, and look at our food wastes after going down. And that's really powerful. It keeps people motivated. Technology, and now with AI, I'm in two minds about AI, always for good or for evil, but it can be very helpful for sustainability as well. It can really help a hotel team to figure out, get the basics of what they need to be doing, or if you put in your data on tools like ChatGPT, it can actually give you a pretty good action plan to start to be your basic start. So technology is hopefully always going to be there to assist.
I was part of a congress back in February in Nice, and there was a professor, a sustainability professor, speaking about some methods that their students were developing. The most successful of them all was a timer applied to the shower, right? So this timer doesn't do anything. It doesn't stop the water. It doesn't stop hot water. It doesn't stop anything. It just starts counting down the time from the moment that you start the water. And it just the mindset of my time is finishing. They managed to reduce, I think, 35 or 45% water wastage from guests, and nobody complained about it. And apparently, people wanted to buy for their own homes. So I thought it was brilliant how sometimes we overcomplicate things and simplicity really tells a lot. Our hoteliers, if you would speak to a boutique hotel manager today and give them like 3 actionable steps that they can take after listening to our podcast here and really start seeing results even a very short term, what would suggest to them?
Yeah, so a bit like I said before in a previous question about mindset and leadership, like the very first thing is to look at yourself and shift your own mindset. Take an hour, read a really good article on sustainability, listen and kind of reflect. Why do you want to do this, yourself, and what sustainability really means to you and your business? Because if you don't believe it, then your staff won't believe it and you're going nowhere really. You're the person that needs to inspire your team. So you need to believe it. If you're on the fence, if you can't figure out why you believe in it, you could even call me. I'll try and help you figure out how to shift that mindset. But then the step number 2 is open the conversation with your team, sit down with your staff, ask them what sustainability means to them, ask them where do they see in their day-to-days possible wastage of energy, or water, to identify, those pinpoint those really easy wins, that low hanging fruit. That's always within the realm of your junior staff, everyone on the floor. They're the ones that have most information about what happens day to day in your business. So they have really, really valuable insights. Call some staff meetings, maybe do it in different pockets, different departments, talk to everybody about sustainability. And then pick one quick win. Choose something that is quite simple. So you might say, right, let's see if we can reduce our electricity by 10% in the next month. Ask everyone to come up with one idea they can implement in their department and just run that idea for 1 month. If you do reduce electricity by 10%, pick the next idea. There is a great climate crisis. And, a lot of people will say like, well, there's no time now for small actions, but small actions at a larger scale will change a lot of things. And that's what we need to keep remembering. We can only change what we can change, what's within our control. Forget about looking at what the neighbor is doing, what the other hotel down the road is doing. Look at yourself, talk to your team, see what are the quick wins, and then just go from there.
Love that. And if we're going to think about the future, right? And you just said that it's hard you need to look into ourselves and see how we can make small changes. But when you look into sustainability and hospitality, the industry itself, what do you see? Which movements do you see happening in the next decade that's very crucial when it comes to the environment?
I'm not good at predicting the future.
Nobody
but,
is.
what I can tell you is where I think sustainability needs to evolve within the industry. And I guess up until now, in the last 10, 15 years, most things have been driven by compliance. Ticking boxes for either being certified or ticking boxes for our investors or for regulators. But we need to shift that towards something much more human-centric and practical. So in the future, I see sustainability not sitting as a separate thing, as having the sustainability department, which they just do that. They do sustainability and everybody else doesn't do sustainability, but that it is built into every role in the hotel, like we said earlier, from the receptionist explaining the sustainability strategy to the guest, to the chef, making menu choices because there is food that is in season and that is local, and they understand the implications of that. So sustainability behaviors should become part and parcel of everything we do in hospitality. But there is a big elephant in the room when it comes to sustainability, I always feel, in hospitality. And that is that whole aspect of social sustainability, which is quite hard to speak about in the hospitality sector. I mean, I've been there. I worked there for over 20 years. And I have personal experience in the regard that my bosses didn't really care about my welfare that much, I'll be rostered to finish at 12 o'clock one night and I start at 6 a.m. the next morning. And, in today's world, that should be a big no-no. We need to look after our people. And I do believe that for years in hospitality, we haven't really put people at the heart of the business strategies. And I think that that's a big thing that needs to change. We've already seen a massive exodus of people from the industry, and all these things have had an effect on it. So I see a big movement about social sustainability within the hospitality industry coming in the next few years that it's welcomed, to be honest.
I hope that people are listening. And if I'll get still into the future, but I'll make a little bit of a challenging question, but you can take your time to think about, okay? Let's jump 10 years ahead already. Okay, so we are already 10 years in the future, and 50 Shades Greener actually achieved its goals and achieved what you dreamed. How that world look like and what steps did you take?
Well, my mission, I always say, is to help upskill 8 billion people in the world, which is no easy task, I guess. And I definitely is not something I can do alone. Any big goal like that requires a lot of collaboration. But what does that look like for 50 Shades Greener? I guess, for me, that future is when sustainability education is embedded into all curriculums, all programs of study, at all levels of education, that we have influenced policy. I don't really know what I want 50 Shades Greener to be within that realm. I just know that we want to be part of that journey. We can't, which will be a big journey for many, many different organizations, public and private, to get there. But yeah, it's that utopia world, I guess, where everybody has the skills and knowledge to lead sustainable behaviors. Now, the caveat is, will they do it? Because it's not only skills and knowledge, it's attitudes. And attitudes are the most difficult things to change. Sometimes we can shape them through education, but they also come from culture, from our backgrounds, from our experiences in life. So I don't know, Mauricio. It is a very difficult question. Because, I want to imagine the world is going to be a better place in 10 years' time, but I don't know if it will be.
we just don't know anything right now. Raquel. It's just very hard to know anything. But I share your wishes, if I can say like that. If we can impact at least 1 billion people and get that idea of sustainability ingrained into the educational system, I believe, I truly believe that we will have to shift dramatically how people learn in these next 10 years because of the influence of AI. Basically, it's not about acquiring knowledge that you're going to use anymore. The knowledge is free, the knowledge is there. It's about understanding how knowledge is acquired, right? And how to apply knowledge into practice. And this is a massive change in the way that people is educated, because we are basically assessing knowledge acquisition in schools, when this now basically it can be irrelevant in the future. So
Yeah.
I really see attitudes like yours to really think of even teaching how to think like you. It's so much worth, but it is thinking from getting a big problem, measuring, simplifying, and working with the simple things that you can do so you can learn in the process. This is what we are missing into education in general. Right? If we just can get this framework and get into education and include all the things that we want and choose, I think that we're going to have a much better world that we are right now.
Hopefully.
One last question before we go. Well, second last question. Best expectation, sustainability. How is it going? Because on my research, I found that yes, 45% of guests look at sustainability as a point of interest, but is not a driver to make a booking decision. From your side of the data, what you see, what are the numbers and how does it impact hotel business?
Yeah, so pretty much, obviously, you read reports that are being researched or put together by different organizations, and they're all going to give you different data that is, beneficial to that organization itself. I mean, there's been reports saying, 78% of travelers want to travel more sustainably. But is that really true? Perhaps not. Where I see, I guess, when I think about quality travel, if I like luxury, but luxury doesn't mean unsustainable luxury. For me, like, luxury travel is about quality, care, and creating really memorable experiences. And sustainability is about all those same very values, right? It's about respecting the resources we have, attention to detail, leaving something better than you found it, So I just think that sustainability and real good travel experiences go hand in hand. So a customer might not pick your hotel because you have a sustainability badge, but if a customer does come to you and you give them a really good guest experience, they will come back to you, right? So yeah, it's about it's balancing that. Guests might not choose you for being sustainable, but they will be loyal to you and they will stay with you more often for being sustainable. And that's what we see working with most of our customers. In Hotel Duland, when we started, making all the announcements and people started seeing what the hotel was doing, we increased our bookings by over 40%. And we started getting really a huge amount of repeat customers year on year. And that's all down to that loyalty. When people believe you are a good business with ethical values relates to sustainability, people might not book you at the beginning for that reason, but they will definitely come back for that reason.
You build a community around your brand in the end of the day, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Loyal customers that will come back time and time again. And that's invaluable in hospitality.
And if you can leave a message to our hoteliers, a positive message to our hoteliers, so they can keep fighting and finding their ways, what would you tell them?
I would tell them start today and build that team around you, In hospitality or in any industry, we're only as good as the team around us. If you're a leader of a hotel, you really want to get this done, talk to your team, find out those 5-6 key people that really believe in this as well, and make that your green team, and just get them to support your thought process, and just get it started today. Even if it's the smallest thing ever, like have a look at your electricity bills, then imagine you can save 30% of that, and give me a call. I'll show you how.
That's awesome. That's our passion, is to help hotels understand their teams as well, and unify and build that team that's around their culture as well. So thank you for reinforcing that message that I'm so passionate about. Thank you so much. Raquel, how can our audience get in touch with you?
Our website, 50shadesgreener.ie, or email me anytime in md@50shadesgreener.ie. So contact us in any way you can. Find me on LinkedIn, Raquel Noboa, and we'll start a conversation, not compromise. Even if you just want to have a chat, we're actually starting from next Wednesday at the Sustainability Hub, where we're open to anyone joining us for half an hour to talk all things sustainability. So they're on our LinkedIn page at the moment, 50 Shades Greener. Anyone that wants to join, there's no prize, there's nothing. Literally just show up and talk to us.
Is a live event on LinkedIn?
Live event, yeah. We're going to just do it.
I will leave the link, because if it's a recurring
every single
event.
week. Yeah, and everyone is invited. You don't have to prepare anything. They don't have to talk if they don't want to. They can just listen. We're only there to talk.
Awesome. Raquel, that was a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your passion, and you have an amazing career. You are an amazing person. I have to say, what you've been building, the way that you've been building, it's just fantastic. And I wish that I could meet more people like you and bring to this show to inspire more people, because it's unique, and we need more unique people like yourself. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Mauricio. You're quite unique yourself.
It's the way that we are. Shirin, thanks for listening another episode, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.